Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about dialogic reading, so let's just dive right in. So what is dialogic reading? Dialogic reading is a reading practice that utilizes children's picture books to enhance or improve expressive language skills. The teacher asks WH questions and the children respond to these questions. The teacher then adds a few words to the response and asks the students to repeat the new response. This helps students to increase their expressive language with new vocabulary. On day one of dialogic reading, you are going to obviously have your book chosen. The book that I've chosen for this presentation is If You Give a Moose a Muffin. You are going to introduce the title of the story, the author, and the illustrator. You're going to read the book verbatim. This is the only day that you are going to read the whole story to the children. So make sure you do an absolutely fantastic job pointing out all of the amazing illustrations and what is going on in the story. Then you are going to review the target word cards, and you are going to learn about the words that I have chosen for the story later on in the presentation. If You Give a Moose a Muffin by Laura Numeroff, illustrated by Felicia Bond. If you give a moose a muffin, you'll want some jam to go with it. So you'll bring out some of your mother's homemade blackberry jam. When he's finished eating the muffin, he'll want another, and another, and another. When they're all gone, he'll ask you to make more. You have to go to the store to get some muffin mix. He'll want to go with you. When he opens the door and feels how chilly it is, he'll ask to borrow a sweater. When he puts the sweater on, he'll notice one of the buttons is loose. He'll ask for a needle and thread. He'll start sewing. The button will remind him of the puppets his grandmother used to make. So he'll ask for some old socks. He'll make sock puppets. When they're done, he'll want to put on a puppet show. He'll need some cardboard and paints. Then he'll ask you to help make the scenery. When the scenery is finished, he'll get behind the couch, but his antlers will stick out, so he'll ask for something to cover them up. You'll bring him a sheet from your bed. When he sees the sheet, he'll remember he wants to be a ghost for Halloween. He'll try it on and shout, "Boo!" It'll scare him so much he'll knock over the paints. So he'll use the sheet to clean up the mess. Then he'll ask for some soap to wash it out. He'll probably want to hang the sheet up to dry. He'll go outside to put it on the clothesline. When he's out in the yard, he'll see your mother's blackberry bushes. Seeing the blackberries will remind him of her jam. He'll probably ask you for some. And chances are, if you give him the jam, he'll want a muffin to go with it. On day 2 and 3, you're going to ask WH type questions. You're going to follow the answers with questions about shape, color, and function, and then you're going to review the target word cards. The target word cards are the words that you have chosen throughout the book. So our words are moose, muffin, homemade, chili, borrow, loose, scenery, antlers, clothesline, and jam. Now, to go to a question about color, what color is the moose? So on this page, you will point to the moose and you will ask the question, what color is the moose? So here are some more WH questions. I want to put in a disclaimer right now because it's very important that when you write your WH questions, you put them on a sticky note. The sticky note is going to align with the picture on the page. So for instance, this page says, and another. When they're all gone, he'll ask you to make more. So could you put, what does homemade mean? No, you could not put that on this page. Who do you think made the jam? No, you couldn't put that question on this page as well. So you want to make sure that your sticky notes have your questions and the sticky notes align with the page, that it makes sense. Because if you are asking that question and you can't point to the picture to give them a prompt or scaffold the question, that question will not work for that page. And that's one of the biggest problems that teachers have, is putting the wrong question on the wrong page. So for this section of the WH questions, we're going to look at the page. We're going to read the page, and then we're going to see if the questions align. So for this page, it says, he'll start sewing. The button will remind him of the puppets his grandmother used to make. Our first question is, what did Moose ask to borrow because he was chilly? We can't ask that question on this page because he's not asking to borrow on this page. What color is the sweater that Moose is putting on? Moose is not putting the sweater on right now, so this question will not work on this page either. Why is the moose wearing a sweater? On this page, the moose is not wearing a sweater. Why does the moose need to sew the button back on? We can't really use this on this page because it's not talking about that on this page. Maybe on the previous page, but not on this page. Why is the button loose? So you could ask this question and you could see what the answer is. However, you need to have that in your head of why you want to ask that question. And if you're going to take any answer, that's fine. However, you need to make sure that you also have a targeted question too. So for this page, the button will remind him of the puppet his grandmother used to make. So for this page, the question that I would ask is, what was Moose doing when he was reminded of the puppets that grandmother used to make? So then the answer, if we're looking at rigor, the answer is he was sewing the button back on. You know that that is the answer that you're looking for, so you're not going to take just any answer. You want the answer that he is sewing the button back on. If the children struggle with this, you would have them turn to their shoulder partner. They could talk to each other and come up with the answer. You could have a phone, and you could have them phone a friend, and then the child could pass the phone to the friend that has the answer. So there's all kinds of things that you could use to get the correct answer. But the point is, do not settle for any answer. Hold on to rigor and make sure it's the answer that you are looking for as the teacher. For this section of the WH questions, I want to preface that the picture is actually 4 pages put together. So on the first page it says, then he'll ask you to help make the scenery. So the question that really stands out to me is, what is a scenery used for? So you can point on the next page that when it says, when the scenery is finished, he'll get behind the couch, but his antlers will stick out. So he'll ask for something to cover them. So for this question, when you point to the picture of the scenery, you're going to ask the children what the scenery is used for. Now remember, on day 1, you read the book verbatim, so they should know that he's wanting to do a puppet show. So the answer to the question is, it's the background for the puppet show. So the next question that you could focus on is something about, what do you think that he's going to use to cover his antlers? So on the next page it says, you'll bring him a sheet from your bed. So you could point to the sheet for a prompt, and then the children would answer, he's going to use a sheet to cover his antlers. On day 4, you're going to make sure that you include that whatever they say, if they just say a sheet, then you're going to say he is going to use a sheet to cover his antlers. And then the children would respond and repeat that back to you because, again, you're trying to increase the words that they put in their sentence. On this page in the story, it reads, he'll probably want to hang the sheet up to dry. The best question on this slide is, why does the moose want to hang the sheet to dry? So the answer from the children could be, the sheet is wet. So your response back to them on day 4 would be, the sheet is wet because he washed it. Then you're going to have all of the children repeat that back. The whole goal is to extend the words that they put in their sentence. So by saying the sheet is wet because he washed it, you are increasing their vocabulary. So we've talked about day 4 already. So on day 4, you're going to ask the open-ended questions that you have written down on your sticky notes that you have placed strategically in your book. Then you're going to add expansions of 1 to 2 words to the children's answer and have them repeat that back to you. Again, your goal is to give them more vocabulary and make their sentences longer as they respond to you. And then again, you're going to review those target word cards. Day 5 of dialogic reading is very unique. You're only going to use this form of questioning after day 2 and 3. You're going to ask recall questions that focus on story events, the plot, or the sequence of the story. So for instance, every book that I read with the children, I'm going to make sure that I ask what happened in the beginning of the story. And I'm not going to just ask this question blindly. I'm going to go to the front of the book. Then I'm going to ask what happened in the middle of the story, and I'm going to go to the middle of the book, prompt the children, and ask them those WH questions. And then I'm going to go to the end of the book and make sure that I ask them the WH questions as well of what happened at the end of the story. I always ask them, why did the author write this story? And of course, this story is very entertaining. And I want to make sure that the children were entertained during the time that we have done this dialogic study. Then I'm going to ask the children why they like the story. And I'm going to take their answers and I'm going to make sure that I give them the opportunity to give the book either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And that helps you to understand what the children's likes are and dislikes. And then you can work your dialogic lesson in your curriculum around their likes and dislikes. You want to make sure that you give them lots of different books to look at, but you also want to make sure that they are enjoying the dialogic process. So of course, everything that we do with our VPK students and our school readiness students has to revolve around our standards. So this standard is language and literacy. It is emergent reading. We want to make sure that the children can demonstrate their comprehension of the books that we read aloud and that they can respond back to us. That is what the beauty of dialogic reading is. You have those prompting questions, you have those awesome questions that can prompt the children to really truly dig into the story, to comprehend the meaning of the text by pointing out those pictures, and then they can respond to you in those awesome conversations. Then of course on day 5 they're going to retell and then reenact parts of those stories after it is read aloud. These are our target words for our story. So we have chosen the word moose, muffin, homemade, chili, borrow, lose, scenery, antlers, clothesline, and jam. With your target words, what I like to do is I like to put the word in about 24-26 print at the top of the page of just a regular normal page. Then I am going to put pictures. For instance, if my word is moose, I am going to put 3 pictures of a moose. I always like to include the moose from the story, the one in the beginning that looks more realistically like a moose. I'm going to use that picture. Then I'm going to pull up on clip art two other realistic pictures of a moose because I want to compare and contrast that. And at the beginning of the week, you are going to ask the children with the dialogic word cards, you're going to ask them like a pretest, what do you think this word is? And if they can say moose, that is awesome. Well, obviously, by the end of the week, you want them to be able to look at that card and say moose. I encourage the teachers that I train to, when they're going over their word cards, to point to each one of the letters of the word. Okay, so this is the time where you can say moose, and then you're going to point to the M and say M, and then you're going to point to the O and say O, and so on. This is helping the children have that time to recognize letters. So the ones that are still struggling with letters, you want to make sure that you do this every day. So prompt them to be able to spell the word as well. So this will help them with letter recognition. Also, you are going to teach towards the standard. So when you line up your list, you're going to look at all of your words. Now for moose, it's the character. So you can use that as a character asking question, but then you're also going to use it as a syllable. All right. So for moose, there's only one syllable. Now, this is not a compound word. So once you look at your word list, you're going to know what standard you can be teaching. So that's why I put this in a graph so that you would be able to see what standard sticks out the most. So for shows age-appropriate phonological awareness, for benchmark D, we want them to combine syllables into words, and then for benchmark E, we want them to delete a syllable from a word. So combine syllables into a word. If we take the word borrow and we do bar plus row equals borrow. The children should be able to do that. And then for deletes a syllable from a word, if we take that word clothesline and we say close minus a line equals close. So for lesson extension, I really want to encourage you to get your children writing. If it's age appropriate for the children to write a word from one of the targeted vocabulary words, that's great. So have them write a word. If your children are younger fours and it's not age appropriate for them to write, then have them draw a picture that goes along with the word. But for those who can and who it is age appropriate, then go ahead and have them choose one of the words, the targeted vocabulary words, have them write the word and then draw the picture. And then they need to tell you about it. And then that's when you're going to do your dictation. So you're going to write exactly what they say on the bottom of their paper or wherever they have room. Now for extension 2, this is absolutely fantastic because in the story really sets us up for success because it has all the built-in lesson plans to make this absolutely amazing. So what I would do is have the children bring in socks and have them make a moose. So if you have all the loose parts that they can use, such as the googly eyes and different things, you can put a sock puppet together. So this is my moose sock puppet for the story. For lesson extension number 3, then you're going to build a puppet theater, a puppet stage. This one we actually used some shipping tubes on a shelf and we created a puppet theater. So then the children are able to act out the stories that we are learning that week. It's absolutely a fantastic way to have children do that recall portion of the story. You can see if they have it from the beginning, the middle, and the end. Okay, everyone, we're in the home stretch. So techniques for students showing disruptive or disruptive aggressive behaviors, you're going to want to have your dialogic reading techniques all together, ready to go before you start your dialogic reading lesson. So you're going to want to have a basket, and in that basket, you're going to want to have one of those plastic microphones, and that's for the children who are answering the questions. You're going to want to make sure that they have a microphone to hold on to. And then when it's another child's turn to answer the question, then they get to hold the microphone. For impatient students, they need to be able to sit closer to you. And then for other students who need to keep their hands moving, you're going to want to have them be your page turner. And then you want them to use the targeted vocabulary words, so you can give each one of your children in your group a targeted vocab card. So at the top of your card, you're going to have your word, such as moose, muffin, homemade, chili, borrowed, loose, scenery, antlers, clothesline, jam. Then you're going to want to take pictures, at least 3 pictures. I always use 3, and we're going to put those on the card as well. Brain research says that children learn our words 6 times faster if they can see it with a picture, and they can hold on to those targeted vocab cards. I make sure that I laminate mine and I'm in the book. When we're finished with the book, I have them for next time. And then you're going to want to have maybe a moose or one of the sock puppets or something like that, so that the children can hold on to that stuffed toy or a prop. That just really helps the children stay focused on what the book is about and not be focused on trying to be disruptive or disruptive aggressive.